All right, guys, we are alive today here on the lunch break here at Fish North Georgia, FNGO. So glad you guys could stop by. I see a few of you up there in the comment section already. Glad you guys could be here, be a part of our daily, well, almost daily, because I was absent yesterday, but our daily just midday pontifications. How about that? We just call it what it is, where we get together just to make sure that your day is going well. And I hope it is for all you guys. And again, on TikTok, saying with you, hey guys, listen, I apologize for missing yesterday. Just didn't feel good. But what was funny is I must have gotten 20 20 messages from viewers and wanting to know if I was okay because we weren't here yesterday. And you know what? That means a lot to me. I want to go ahead and say that, get that out of the way. Sometimes you do these things, you just wonder if you're sometimes just up here beating your head in, talking to yourself, but you miss a day and everybody's wanting to know what's going on. What happened to the beard? I just got rid of the mustache a little bit. This is the way I used to wear it in my 30s and early 40s. And I told my wife yesterday, I said, you know what, I wasn't feeling good. I said, I think I'm just going to shave my mustache. So, new look, new me, right? What's up, Tyler? But all you guys, glad you're here. And go ahead and tell you, we got an absolutely fantastic show tonight on the live well. I want you guys to take part in it. Now, this stems from the Ryan Sheffield Benefit Tournament that happened this past Saturday, which was a great event. I look 10 years younger. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. I don't feel 10 years younger, but thank you. My wife won't let me shave it all off because she says I look like a baby. So there you go. It's the gray hair. But at the Ryan's benefit, hey, listen, everybody had a great time. Heard lots of great things. Got some good money that was given to his family. But I heard from a couple anglers about it being their first time on Lanier. They're not being used to fishing that way. And they were kind of out of place, a little bit lost. And so I said, you know what? That's going to be an absolutely fantastic conversation piece for tonight. So we're going to talk about how to be more versatile, how to fish outside of your comfort zone. And again, you guys need to help with the conversation because it's not just about what I think or Clint will be here, John Aldred and Tony will be up here. It's not really about what we think as much as it is what you guys think and how you guys can help each other out. And that's what we want to do tonight. How to become more versatile, how to fish outside of your comfort zone, how to learn techniques and what rods and reels to buy to do that. Now, how did it turn out? Fred Ashcraft wants to know. I believe they ended up with 38 boats and they raised some good money. I know Ryan and the family appreciate that. If he were here, I know exactly what he would say. So I don't have a problem speaking on his behalf with that. I'm sure he's thank you to every one of you guys that participated. Now we shift our focus on two things. Number one, our buddy LJ had a triple bypass surgery yesterday. That is a big time surgery. And he's got a long road to recovery. So you guys continue to remember LJ in your thoughts and prayers because he's going to need them. And also for Corey and you know the entire family and everything. So keep LJ in your thoughts and prayers. And now we focus our attention to December 6th, and that is the Toys for Tots tournament that's going to be happening at Laurel Park. Again, it's going to be a $5,000 first place prize. You got to bring 2 toys. All the details are getting ready to start coming out and the sign up as well. So getting ready to get that. So focus your attention on that. If your attention is not focused on other things like the opening day of deer season here in Georgia, which I believe is Saturday, I told you guys when we were having all that cool weather, what would happen? That it was going to turn back warm right before deer season started here. And what is it going to be Friday? High of 89. I think mid to upper 80s Saturday. Okay. So I told you guys, it never fails. It could be 40 degrees for the entire month of August and the first 2 weeks of September. And the opening day of archery season here in the state of Georgia, it will absolutely be like we're on the tip of hell. It'll be 90 degrees with all the mosquitoes, all the bugs, all that kind of stuff. But how many of you guys are going to go out there? I probably will not hunt this Saturday. I'll probably start my season the following Saturday. Got lucky, though. Oh, Coleman, his surgery is a week from today. John Aldred, that's why you're going to be here tonight. He's one of the ones that was lost on Lanier. It's a big lake. It's a different world than what you're used to. And so I asked John if he would come in. 45.70 for muzzle loading this year in Arkansas. There you go, dude. Hey, throw that lead on down the line. Stack them is what I say. But yeah, that's why I wanted you on, because it's a firsthand account of, how you felt being on the back of a farmer's boat in a different world. So, Tiny Times Production, shout out my channel, Tiny Times Production. Well, there you go, guys. Go follow Tiny Times Production on YouTube. Okay, go follow them out. And speaking of which, guys, hey, we're getting close to the $9,000 and the $10,000 mark. I want you guys to if you're not subscribed, subscribe. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. I just got a notification. Facebook might be having some problems. So hopefully all you guys are on YouTube and on TikTok. So got lucky, boys. Let me tell you this. When we talk about the fishing stuff, though, was given permission to hunt 7 acres. 7 acres. If you are familiar with North Georgia, it's inside Fulton County, the city of Milton, or inside the Milton city limits. My son and I went out there, and we just dropped just to see we put a camera out and just to put a camera out and took a bag of corn just to throw it out there, just see what was on the property. All right, well, that corn's already gone. Let's just say the deer are plentiful in this area. So looking forward to getting my bow hunting back on. I haven't bow hunted much here in the last few years. It's going to be really fun to sling an arrow through that. So, but I told you guys, it's going to be hot, 100%. But yeah, Coleman, your surgery is a week from today, man. We're wishing you the best of luck. Coleman says, if I die in surgery, F&GO can have my rods for consignment. All right, we don't want your rods. What about you? Who are you giving your fiance to? No, I'm just playing, because I know she's a better half of that couple right there. Troy Mims is watching in downtown Atlanta. Bless your heart there. Emmanuel Leon, the best part about deer season is it's easier to park at the ramp. For sure. Now, you have to think about that when, fishing, especially when you're putting in a tournament too. I have guys that say, hey, we need to do a benefit tournament. I'm going, where? When you want to do it? Well, let's go the first week of November. And I'm like, you ain't going to get a lot of guys because they're going to be hunting. That's the rut here in Georgia. So we don't want to be hunting. We don't want to be throwing a tournament when most of the guys are going to be out fishing. Coleman says, Messick said, Coleman, you need to autograph your rods if you do it for consignment. They'll get more. Danny, any experience hunting WMAs? Just Dawson Forest up here. I've done that a few times. It gets a little crazy during the gun hunts, but I've bow hunted it more than I have gun hunted it. I'm kind of, when you get all them fellas who don't spend a lot of time in the woods and they show up all of a sudden with a high-powered, boom, boom stick, unless you are one of those that really walk a couple miles off the beaten path, it can be kind of sketchy. 5 spotted bass is present. He's driving back from Texas. There you go. That's awesome. Now, I know dove hunting opened up for a lot of guys. I saw a lot of good pictures of guys partaking in that September ritual. Looks like you had some good times. I saw a lot of guys in green pants checking a lot of fields out there. So if you're one of those that got checked, hey, listen, they're out there for a reason. Hope you didn't get caught. You don't want my rods for real. They are magic ones that make you spend hundreds of dollars to catch 6 pounds. I got those, dude. I got those. And Doug Rice says WMAs are scary. Atlanta Outdoor says, I want to hunt, but I'm leery. I always hunted private land before I moved to Atlanta, North Georgia. And Dead Rabbit said, whistling lead is an uneasy feeling. For sure it is. I'll say this. In my experience, let's just say with Dawson Forest, because it's got a pretty good road system. It's got a pretty good road system through it. The majority of the guys will get out of their truck, wherever, and they will walk 50 to 100, maybe 150 yards inside the woods from that point. Not too many of them go way, way back. And I think you need to go way, way back for safety, number one. And number two, I think you're going to find the bigger deer. And if you're into the bear, off the beaten path. Now, bow season, not that bad, and I think, the big thing is there's rumors about Dawson Forest Atlanta tract that the city of Atlanta, and that's about 10,000 acres. That's going to be sold. Hopefully Dawson County will get its act together, somebody, and they'll buy the land and keep it as is instead of letting it get developed. I don't want it to be like Forsyth County. I grew up in Forsyth County. Forsyth County is an old Indian word for how many houses can you stick on a quarter acre. Forsyth County back in the 80s, now just we're talking about the land and all that, was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Country is all get-go. And now it is nothing but asphalt, high-density development, and just shopping malls or strips or whatever, everywhere that you can go. It's really sad what Cummins has become. But hey, listen, that is progress, right? And Dawson County is experiencing a little bit of that right now. You want it to stay the same, but we might just have to keep moving on and on and on, getting away from the concrete. But it is changing the way of life around here a lot. What I get tickled at is how many of you guys asphalt and asses, yeah. And Eric said it's moving this way too. I'm hoping that where we're at, we'll stay like Milton and be a lot more equestrian country or something like that than we will be, subdivisions. What's the last crop a farm puts out? A subdivision. That's true. What's up, Doc Holiday? Let me try to catch up on some of the comments real quick. Turkey hunting on a WMA is way worse than deer hunting on a WMA. I could see that because everybody hears a bird and they take off running, right? Hey, Danny and everybody, been really sick the past week. Haven't fished but once. If anybody wants several ways to go number 2 while kayak fishing, I can tell you several now. We're going to let you keep that, John, and we're just going to kind of imagine that with our, kind of in our thoughts. We'll kind of, I really don't want to picture you doing it, but we will think about that. Honestly, wanting to leave Forsyth and stay around the lake, but don't know where to go. I grew up in South Forsyth. Okay. Just what they call the Midway area, which is just inside Forsyth from Fulton County. And it is true, the old Andy Griffith kind of thing. We'd ride our bikes wherever we wanted to go. We could go fish in everybody's pond. I will say this, you still could get in trouble because everybody knew everybody, right? And so if you did something, it was just a phone call. Now, you didn't get put on social media, but it was a phone call to your mom and dad back in the day, and it was very easy to get caught, but it was a different way of life than it is now. Much different. Let's see. When I did construction for a living, we used to go up 400 and up 85 every single day, and it's only gotten worse. Yeah, and I can't stand, that's another thing, I can't stand traffic. Can't stand traffic, and Forsyth County now, it's just, I can remember it being no traffic and most of the roads being dirt. I'm not that old, so it hasn't been that long ago. It really hasn't. You're right off exit 14. There you go. So we I was in the same area. Old Forsyth sounds like my hometown, but larger. And listen, it was a different time. But the cool thing was everybody had farm ponds. Hey, well, of course, now let me say this. I know that big thing going on TikTok with that Trey and the crew tractor stuff. It's what it is. I'm already over all that. There's been so much of it. But you snuck into a few of them that you weren't allowed to fish in. You might have got pelleted with a little bit of a bird shot or had it, popped up in the air above your head, but that was it. But we had a lot of places to fish that now some of the best lakes I've ever fished in my life are either A, gone because a subdivision filled them in and built over, or B, they're in a gated community, probably surrounded by people who don't appreciate that. Hunter Hogg said, I drive from Towns County to Atlanta and below Atlanta just about every day. Bless your heart, dude. There is no way in the world I would want to do that. No way I would want to do that. I used to, when I did heating and air, and I was a subcontractor, and I actually had to go down to Atlanta and do some of the apartment buildings. And I had a crew, and I'd take them down there and meet. I hated it. Couldn't stand going to Atlanta. NC Bass Puller. Fishing was awesome this weekend. Got them on Sabills and Sammys. Hey, there you go. The Sabill bite. A lot of guys, we're still throwing them down here, but you don't hear guys talking about it near as much the last year or two as they had been previous years. So that's good. And a Sammy, like you don't hear anybody talking about Sammys much. I love a Sammy, but it's not the cool bait right now here in North Georgia. Let's see. A switch off the bush took care of my butt a few times. I had to do that too. My papa lived off of Sergeant Road, which is in Johns Creek. It was on a farm and everything, but he had this little privet in the front yard, and I always got in trouble, and I had to go pick a switch off that thing. And you know what? You always would pick the small one. They'd send you back to get the big one. I got my butt just tore up. I mean, tore up from switches. The things that our parents did to us, if we tried to do that today, we'd be in jail. Y'all think that Karen at the Phillies game was bad? Imagine if somebody caught you popping your kid with a switch. Think about that these days. I mean, you would have the law called on you. Not saying there are a lot of people on WMAs, but one morning I was doing my business and wiped the wrong rear end. Good Lord, Doug. I guess it was crowded, huh? For sure. With only 7 days left in BLAT's monthly tournament, I'm holding on to first place with the biggest spotted bass caught. Yay me. Hey, John, I hope you win. Hunter says, I wish people still went and pick switches. Yeah, there's one or two people out there that could use a good switching. I live on the Alabama line now. It is awesome. Only time I come up there is to fish Lanier now. Hey, listen, I envy you a little bit. We're not terrible where I live. We're not terrible, but they are building houses. The good thing is, really, with the exception of the golf course, and I don't know why the Dawson County Commissioners approved it, they decided to put some townhomes in there because they can't sell these big $1 million homes that they're wanting to build. And I'm like, we don't have the infrastructure. The roads are crap. But you know what? Hey, let's stay. It's supposed to be a 55 only community. And I think that's what, now, again, this is my conspiracy theory. I think they build these 55 and over communities, and when they don't work out, then they go back and they're like, oh, just let anybody move in that they want to. But there are a billion 55 and over communities popping up everywhere. They can't be that many people 55 and older, but maybe there is. Okay, so you guys, my wife used to work at Piedmont downtown. She hated the drive. Yeah, my daughter just left Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and I'm kind of glad, but she still has to drive down that way. You guys are answering the Sammy. Yeah, it's a topwater Lucky Craft bait. Joey Metcalf. I love the convenience of more development coming to our little corner of the world in Hall County now. I totally loathe it. Oh, now I totally loathe it and want to disappear into the country. You loved it at one point, but now you see what it brings with you. For sure. Over the years, people messed it up for all, leaving their trash and no respect. I grew up in Cherokee County when it was country. For sure. Yeah, Cherokee County has built so much from the time I was 16, Carson Fowler. It's changed, guys. It is just absolutely changed. I know that. Let me put it this way. So I graduated in 90. I was a senior the first year South Forsyth opened. Well, we all went to Forsyth County High, and they gave us seniors the option to go to South if we wanted to, if we lived in district. And I was one of like 37 that decided to go down there. My graduation took like 15 minutes. And now what's Forsyth County's got seven or eight quad or 7A high schools or whatever. It's absolutely ridiculous, the amount of people that live in Forsyth County. But you can't blame them. You know, I mean, it's nice, but now it's just crowded. It might as well be Marietta. Oh, Lord. Let's see. Anybody got any Sinclair juice for this weekend? I do not have anything, and I actually would like to know what you guys caught fish on this weekend. How was the fishing? Because I know, again, in Ryan's tournament, a few guys did well. A lot of guys struggled. I know, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about tonight. I know, talking to Farmer and John Alder that's on here, the morning bite was on fire until it wasn't, which was right about the time the sun came up. And once the sun came up, it disappeared. And if you were not very good at going to the offshore thing, that really put a damper. Have you ever fished Florida? Alan Lowen. Well, not for bass. I have fished down on the coast and all that, but I've not fished for bass. So I've done some saltwater fishing. I got a lot of buddies that do fish down in Florida, and we're wanting to, with our TV show, The Real American Road Trip, we're wanting to do an episode or two, not only saltwater fishing, but get in there for some of those bass, if you know what I mean. Definitely want to. Now, a lot of guys that fish in Florida that move up here, they get a big time culture shock because 8 foot's deep in Florida, right? You guys don't have a lot of deep lakes. When you come up here and you're fishing over timber and 50, 60, 70 foot, it is a big time adjustment for a lot of guys. And I know a lot of people that have moved up here, they're like, man, it's a different world in Georgia. But I'd like to go down there and fish some of that brackish water. I'd like to go down there and actually get on a peacock or two. I think I would enjoy that. Let's see. Grandma used switches. Fathers used thick leather belts with rodeo buckles. Absolutely. Or the backside of his hand. In 2 hours, I can be in Eufaula, Lanier, Gunnersville, or Smith Lake. It's a sweet spot. So Emmanuel Leone has got the place right there. There's one lake y'all fish that has a bunch of you guys are going too fast. Messick, type your thing again. You're talking about one lake. My neighborhood was a failed older community. At least that's what the older neighbors say. So that's what I'm saying. That's how they get you. Aaron lives in Midtown. Luckily, I don't have to deal with the traffic. I guess, how much driving do you actually do, Aaron, living down in Midtown? Midtown's okay to visit every once in a while for this country boy, but I just would not like to be down there all the time. I would be frogging brim beds on Sinclair, Coleman said. So there you go, John G. I couldn't fish this morning. The morning temps this week look good for a buzzbait. I would think early morning buzzbait bite would be on fire. Do you suppose there are many 30-year mortgages in the 55 plus communities? Listen, that's a good question. That's a really good question. But there are so many of them jokers. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. But I do think, now again, I'm not big on conspiracies, and I might be totally off base and wrong with this. But I 100% believe they build a 55 plus community with the hopes that they can change it. Like to come up there and fish Georgia. Well, Alan, come on, buddy. I tell you what, though, South Georgia will fish a lot like what you're used to, but you get above Macon, about midways of the state, you come up, and especially if you get above Atlanta, different world, man. Clear water, deep spotted bass. We still got largemouth up here, but spotted bass kind of rule up here in North Georgia, and it is a different world. Sinclair, punching some of the grass in the creeks near Sinclair Marina. There you go. That's a good idea. Big swim bait bite was working on Wedowie. If Tony was here, I'd say Wedowie. I'll get right back to you, Alan. Let me read these comments. Deep brush and shaky head on Logan Martin Saturday and Sunday last weekend. There you go. All right, guys, pay attention to this comment from Andy Anderson. If any of your audience would like to serve as a marshal for the United Pros / Ultimate Angler World Championships, October 5th through 11th, please let me know. And if you don't have Andy's contact and you want to message me either on TikTok or on YouTube or on Facebook, or if you got my number, because a lot of you do, hit me that and I'll get you in contact with Andy. What lake would I recommend? Alan, depends on what you want to get, buddy. It just depends. A lot of them you're going to be spotted bass. So they're all good. I think Lake Lanier is the engine that runs the ship up here, but it is different. So if you want largemouth bass, you're going to have to stay south. But if you want to come up on some of them spots, any of them up here have it. I'd say Allatoona and Lanier would be the ones that would be to me, the easiest to fish. But any big reservoir north of Atlanta, I'd go to Lanier. That's just me, because to me, Lanier is the number one spotted bass lake in the nation. I have not fished all of them, so that is just being partial and being a homer. But just looking at the information, that's what I would do. Let's see. Joey Metcalf. I remember when the only thing Forsyth County was known for was the triple letter boy band. Yes. Yeah. And I'm going to tell you how much it's changed. And this is just being honest. You're talking mid-'80s here. If we're talking about the same triple letter boy band that starts with a K, every Saturday my grandfather would hop in his little bitty Toyota pickup truck. He had that small one. And he would drive like 25 miles an hour up to Cumming to do whatever he needed to do. And oftentimes I would go with him on Saturday. So you got to figure I'm 12, between 11, 13 years old like that. There used to be one red light pretty much in the middle of town. It's right there where the McDonald's is now as you go in. And that boy band would be standing out there every single Saturday handing out flyers. Every Saturday. So you're looking, this ain't been 30 years ago. This was before Oprah came and all that. I remember that vividly. That they would, if you stopped at that red light, they were walking in their uniform or whatever you want to call it. And they were handing out flyers. And I saw that I don't know how many times back in Cumming in the day. So that is one thing that's changed for the positive. I will say that for sure. That's a positive change. But times are a little bit different back then. I'd like to try and fish those electric reservoirs in Atlanta. I've heard that like Stone Mountain is not any good. I know you go south, there's some better ones. Like when you say Metro Atlanta, in Atlanta, like which ones exactly are you talking about, Carson, that pop into your mind? Aaron says maybe 2 or 3 times a week, and that's to go on Lanier to see family. I guess that's when you're talking about driving in here. Chattooga is a great lake. Don't overlook it. I was trying to think of something that's not quite so far north for him, but yeah, absolutely. All right, we got a question. What's y'all's favorite trailer for a spot choker, and what size spot choker do y'all like? And if you don't know that is an underspin. And I'll get to that real quick. Brendan Glover said he fished Allatoona Sunday, could not seem to get on them. They were scattered. That's what a lot of guys talked about on from Ryan's tournament. That's a lot of guys had that problem. And that's what we're going to discuss tonight, because we want to be able to figure out why we're good. Like if you're a shallow water guy and that shallow water bite went away, and you had to go fish deep and you're not used to that or just didn't have the equipment for that, that's a big struggle bus for a lot of guys. And we're going to try to see if we can eliminate some of that, all of us working together. But an underspin. So favorite trailer for a spot choker. I'll just tell you, be quite honest, more times than not, I just throw a Kitech. I throw a Kitech because I do like the paddle tail action on an underspin, because it's not like it's not like other baits. You could put a straight tail on it. You could. I don't think you get the action that you want. And I generally stay with a 3/8. 3/8 is kind of like like Farmer says, you got your 4-wheel drive of everything, just like a 3/8 jig. You can go quarter, you can go half, you can go 3/4. But a 3/8 jig and a 3/8 underspinning pretty much do just about anything. Now, Dozer 21, Carson says tube it. Now, that's a different thing on the back of an underspin. Tube it. I don't see why it wouldn't work, but tube it. But what do you guys like? On the back of an underspin, what do you guys like to normally use? I just keep it simple with the underspin. I will say that, I will say this. When we were up at Chick, we got into them little white and yellow bass. Okay, them little bitty things. And so I had, at that time, I had a Trickster. He used to he might still do it, make these flukes that were kind of, I don't know, 3 inches, little bitty things. It might be a little bit, but little bitty flukes. And I used a 1/4 ounce spot choker up there and put those things on it. And I waylaid on them things. Now, there were no big fish, and the big bass weren't biting, so I wanted to have some fun. So we caught those. Let's see, Atlanta. Okay, you guys up there are still talking about Sinclair. What was the winning weight for Ryan's tournament? Off the top of my, I think it was 21. I think the winner had 21 plus. There's some guys that fished. I was not there. I had some stuff I had to take care of, but I do believe I was told it was 21 that won it. But there were a lot of guys that had, 12 to 16 pounds that they just they didn't weigh in. I mean, if you're going to come to the scale on Lanier with 12 or 16, you're just weighing in because you want to weigh in at that point. So you had one guy on, and he said McIntosh and a few others in Atlanta. I don't remember all three he said, but a couple months ago I drove by McIntosh, and it looked pretty good. There are some of those electric-only reservoirs down that way, and I'm not 100% sure about this. Don't quote me on, but I think you have to be a resident of that county. Seems like there's one down there that you have to be like that. There's several of them like that, or they're smaller. I don't know. There's some good fishing in those. Absolutely, there's good fishing in those. It's very hard for me that if I want to go fish an electric-only reservoir for me to take off somewhere when I got Latham 25 steps across the street. So I don't get to fish those near as much unless we're fishing a tournament down there, and we don't fish that many down there. Tracy Coker says Saturday, apparently the fish were biting shallow topwater. We found it a little too late, right before the storms rolled in. And, dude, you guys got caught in some rain. I saw some of those storms. What was funny, I talked to Eric Richards, which he was on here a second ago. They came in a little bit early because the storms were coming in. And it was raining. I looked on the radar. And so down around Canton Way was big thunderstorms. Over on Lake Lanier was big thunderstorms going on. And right where we're at, this location, it was just thundering, and it was gray on both sides. Now, eventually it did work. Those Canton storms, I think, moved up, and we got some of that, but it did. It sounded nasty because we could hear the thunder. I could hear the thunder from where I was at, but it was really weird. We didn't get a lot of that rain. A Fat Albert is underrated. Okay, let me read that again. A Fat Albert is an underrated trailer on a fish head spin / underspin. There you go. Absolutely. You know what? I tell you what, those single tail Fat Alberts, I don't know why guys ain't putting them on ball head jigs and throwing them. You know what I'm talking about? Everybody's going with the old swim baits and everything. Why could you not? And why do you not just take an old curly-tailed Fat Albert in white or one of them colors and chunk it out? Now, Joe Fisher said, easy, bro. Maybe that's what you do over there. It is like it's not cool anymore. It's just like the rooster tail. They've always caught fish. They didn't stop catching fish. But just think about that. To me, if you want some really cool action, and everybody's trying to get that action, right? Everybody's trying to get that spots and smallmouth, he says. Absolutely. Everybody's trying to get that wobble and all this, and some of these baits are great at doing it. But I'm just telling you, an old single tail grub on the back of a ball head jig in white, silvers, anything like that, it never stopped working. And in fact, you mentioned smallmouth. That used to be what I would do up on Blue Ridge back in the 90s when you could go up there and actually target smallmouth. Is I would take a white curly tail grub, a little bit bigger one, put it on a ball head jig, just chunk it, let it go to the bottom, and I'd slow roll it. Smallmouth, boom, boom. I didn't catch no giants. I'm not going to tell you I caught giants, but I always caught fish on a whole single tail grub, but nobody likes it. It's not sexy anymore. We've got these baits out that are so realistic looking, and everything's perfect about them, and they got this shimmy and all that. And I give Zoom a hard time for the way they package their flukes, but I don't think that you can go wrong with throwing a white curly tail grub. It still works. Sounds like I was hitting the winning weight with 21.8. Yeah, I forgot we actually mentioned that. We were mentioning that Cast Echo 3.5 if they're short striking, the paddle tail works good on the spot choker. Okay, so you go with the Echo. So you go with the short one. Not short one, the straight tail. 100%. I mean, it'll work. It's whatever you're comfortable with, right? Let's see. Snake Creek in Carroll County is awesome, but it's resident only. Emmanuel said there's several of those lakes like that. Tyler said I came in early. This is Saturday at the Sheffield tournament. I came in early because I ran out of water. Didn't know the storms were coming, but dodged the bullet for sure. So you got thirsty, Tyler? Is that what you're saying? Like you came in because you're thirsty? You got to be prepared out there. I got cussed out in the dove field because of the rain Saturday. Old lady was not happy with me. So you took her and then y'all got rained on, which I didn't think about that. I didn't think about the rain affecting the dove hunting. I'm sure it did. Tyler said I was quite parched. I get that way too. You mentioned baits that never stop working. I think about that with everything always being new. Average life of a bass is like 6 to 10 years. Yeah, like they don't remember. Andy, you're absolutely right. They don't remember what worked 20 years ago. They went around. Listen to an old episode this morning. What is Tatonga? Dude, you ain't never watched Dances with Wolves? When he meets the Indians, he's out there on that old abandoned fort out there. And the Indians come over. In fact, the guy that just played the guy, he just passed away. I forget his name, but that character that played like the chief of the Indians, Buffalo, yeah, Tatonga, Buffalo. So like he would go Tatonga, and then Kevin Costner would go Buffalo, and he put something on the back, make it like a hump thing. He go Tatonga, Buffalo, Tatonga, Buffalo. So that's what Tatonga is. Tatonga is whatever that branch of Indians they had on there. That's what it means. No, sir, I'd never even heard of it, but I was dying laughing every time you said it. Yeah, Tatonga. Been a hot minute since I watched that movie. It's a good movie. It's long as hell, but it's a good movie. But yeah, Andy, back on that, that again, Kevin Thornton he still likes to throw the, what's that top water? Jitterbug. Jitterbug never stopped catching fish. The old school Rapala minnow that you could get in gold side or silver side, the little 5 or 6 inch top water one, they never stopped catching fish. The old crankbaits, if Tim Hancock was on here right now, he would love me saying that. They never stopped catching fish. But you got bait companies, and God bless them. It's capitalist society. They should. But you got bait companies that got to innovate, make it look newer, all this. The fish will hit something. The brain's about yay big, right? Very small. They're not the brightest creatures in the world. We make them out to be way smarter than they are. Most of the time, it's our problems why they're not biting. We're doing things wrong. And I get it. They can be picky at times, especially when they're pressured. But, again, a rooster tail, a white curly tail grub jig, things like that, they still work. And they will continue to work as long as somebody has one of them. But again, if you were a consumer right now and you go into a bait store and you see the newest, and let's just take Cast. Cast makes fantastic looking baits, and that new amethyst color is amazing. You put that beside an old white curly tail grub, what you going to buy? You're going to buy the Cast bait, and it does work. It will work. It works. But that doesn't mean that this old non-sexy looking white curly tail grub stopped working. And, it's just sometimes I think they see so many of the new baits. Imagine if you went out on Lanier and you pulled out a queen tackle ball head jig, tungsten ball head jig, and you stuck a single tail Fat Albert on it, and you're out there and you're scoping, try it. I guarantee you they ain't seen one in a while. I guarantee you. And there's a lot of action on that, especially on the fall. Think about that. On the fall, that tail's just kicking. So just because something's, it's kind of like our old viewers here. We love you guys. You're not as sexy as you used to be, but we still love you, and you still are useful. I'm just playing with you guys. But listen, I'm up there with you. But you know what I'm saying? Just because a bait's old doesn't mean it quit working. Fat Albert Green Pumpkin on a Carolina rig can be money. There you go. Andy Miller, I love new lawyers and techniques, but I always end up going back to the old stuff eventually. Did you mean to type lawyers? I'm just curious. Did you mean to type lawyers? New baits. So I love new baits and techniques, but I always end up going back to the old stuff eventually. 100%. I read that comment up there and it said new lawyers. I'm like, man, I don't know where he's going. Coleman says, I love this podcast. I really do think it's the best podcast I've ever watched, and I watch about 4 hours of podcast a day. Well, thank you, Coleman. We appreciate that. You know why I think this podcast works? Because we're just like you. We're just like you. We're trying to figure out this thing called life just like you are. And actually, I think it's the best podcast out there because of you guys out there, because we get you guys involved. Now, Dane Hunter said down there in the bottom, I skipped somebody, said, speak for yourself, old man. I'm still sexy. Dane, you need to let somebody else tell you that, okay? You need to let somebody else tell you that. I always like the guys that say, I'm funny. I'm funny. No, you need to let somebody else tell you that you're funny. And sexy's right there with it. But yeah, Dane, you're a sexy man. I used to fish a frog heading torpedo on Chateau. It probably would still work. The guy's name was Graham Greene. That was the actor, Tatonka. He did just pass. Yeah. But I did not have Tatonka on my bingo card for today in this conversation. Where did you get that EVH autograph picture, Tom Oswald? Hey, Tom, I ain't forgot. Wasn't you supposed to send me a replica of the Frankenstrat so I could hang it in the shop? Actually, Josh got it for me. My buddy Josh, my partner here, he got it. I forget where he got it, but he got it for me. I wish I was there in person to see him sign it. It'd have been a lot more. But he got that for me. He knows that I am I really go overboard on my love and listening to Van Halen. So it is the way it is. That's what you're going to listen to. Any good musky sites for glide baits, Dr. Depression? You know what? Ever been to Tennessee to fish for muskie? Just out of curiosity, I'll get back to you, but just let me know if you ever been to Tennessee. Let's see. What's up, Mike Geiger? You there? Split shot rig is a finesse sea rig. Yeah, it is. It is. 100% it is. Dane is looking into a broken mirror, DP says. I know, listen, we got to make sure he understands that while we love him, Dane ain't going to win no beauty contest. No, from New England, haven't gone out of state yet, but will in the future. Check out Tennessee, especially the Collins River, because I have fished that and caught muskie there. And I will tell you this, we were fly fishing it and then ended up throwing a big swim bait. I bet you a glide, when that river is right, because it's very clear and all that, I bet you a glide would get hammered. Look up McMinnville, Tennessee, and the Collins River. That's really all I got. I know there's other places, and the guys that took me are probably flipping out that I said where it's at, but it's amazing. Let's see. Have you ever rigged the split shot on the nose of the worm? My grandpa was doing that a couple weeks ago, and I called him crazy. Putting the split shot right there, just almost like where your bullet weight would go. Is that what you're talking about, Messick? Doc Holliday. FNGO almost took over Luke Duncan's podcast last night. Several guys called in. Hey, there you go. Well, you cheating on me? Y'all watching Luke Duncan? And you guys, are we having like podcast affairs now? I'm just kidding with you guys. I watched about 3 minutes of that, and then I went on to something else. I have a very hard time watching podcasts about fishing. I really do. I know it sounds crazy, but I have a very hard time listening to other people talk about fishing. Now, granted, what was that? That was his 10-year. Wasn't that his 10-year anniversary? And I hope we make it 10 years here. Farmer says Dane's about as sexy as a pile of dog vomit. Farmer calls it like he sees it, Dane. He calls it like he sees it. I was hammered at the beach last week and called into an SEC show to rag on Alabama. There you go. Hey, listen, you feeling froggy, huh? You had some of that liquid courage. Is that what you're saying? Now, Dr. Depression, Steven Sturgeon says, Illinois has some muskie if you know where to go. For sure. Tom says, dang, yes, I've still got that Frankie replica. Message me your address and I'll get it to you. I'll send you a few pics. Heck yeah, I'd love to have old Frankenstrat hanging behind me. I'll do that, Tom. And I saw you were busting some largemouth on the Chattahoochee. Pretty cool. Cody Jones went out to Heath Lake yesterday, or as I guess it's known, the Trophy Lake at Rocky Mountain. And I threw a buzz bait all day. Threw a wacky rig as a follow-up bait when needed. Had a ton of blow-ups and just plain out missed them a few times. But I got 3 in. Had a giant come off the wacky rig, unfortunately. Hey, listen, got to cross them eyes. I honestly think at Rocky, I think the other 2 lakes are better than Heath Lake. That Trophy Lake up there, I actually think the other 2 lakes fish better. And I will say this, more trophies that I've heard people talk about have come out of East and West Antioch than Heath Lake. That's not saying Heath Lake ain't got some monsters. I'm sure it does. But I hear more people talking about catching them out of the other ones. Tiny Time says, is it just my spots, but I haven't had many bucks on camera yet. The bucks that we've got on our cameras are the smaller ones. I think the biggest one I've seen maybe is 110 8-pointer. So no giants yet. But so I don't think it's just you. I tried the chicken rig on Neely, had some hits, but no hookups. Yeah, interesting. I don't know. When I did it on Latham last time, man, talking about no hookups, it was in the gullet almost. They were swallowing it so deep. I wish there were more fishing podcasts, make it easy to learn stuff while working. Tyler, I get it. And if I could do this and get paid to talk to you guys for 8 hours a day, I would talk to you guys for 8 hours a day. And do my show at night. I would. I absolutely would. But yes, Tracy Coker, podcast affairs. They're cheating on me with other podcasts. I thought I was your one and only, but I guess I'm not. So you guys know I'm just ragging you out there. I tell you who I do like to listen to. And I know a lot of people may disagree with me, but I can listen to Zal Dangerous every once in a while because I listen for a different reason. I like when Trait gets rolling. I know a lot of guys don't like Trait Zaldane. I know a lot of people can't stand her, but I actually think she's entertaining. And if you follow her on Twitter, listen, it ain't just fishing. That woman's got an opinion about everything, but it is educated. She ain't just throwing something out there. Whether you agree or disagree, she has at least put some thought into it. But I can listen to them. The other ones, I've had guys tell me, you need to listen to this one, and I don't know, guys. I guess I'm just used to having guys around me and talking to you guys that when I just sit and listen to somebody talk, I'm not saying it's bad. My mind doesn't work that way. So I'm not putting down the podcast at all. It's just, that's not the way my mind works. My fantasy team choked so bad last night, I wanted to get hammered. You guys playing fantasy football and all that stuff. You guys, I've never got into that. There's nothing. I don't know. I just can't do it. I just can't do it. I'll leave it for you guys. And all you guys up there talking about you're winning, and then some guy messed up, and now you didn't win your fantasy game. Think about that, guys. Your fantasy game. Now, back when I was y'all's age, my fantasies were a lot different than your fantasies. That's all I got to say. Just different. We built different. I appreciate you telling me to go out to Rocky. I use the VMC wacky hooks, but I have the weedless ones. And I find the wire gets in the way of good hookups. I pull the wire out, and then my hookups are better. I don't use a weedless anytime on a wacky for sure. I'm just telling you, just chunk it out there. Again, if you're throwing any exposed hook bait like a wacky, you just got to be ready, like a Ned too. You're going to get hung up. And I said it a lot of times. It's like buying a Jeep and then complaining about the gas mileage. Okay. You know what you're getting into when you go in there. So that's it. Don't sleep on a swim jig with a grub trailer in brackish water. Pick your color. Grub trailer works, man. Absolutely. I was going back to Heath today, but if you hear a little better things about the other 2 lakes, maybe I'll just give them a try today instead. That is personal. Cody, that's just me personally. I've just had more experience, and we fished tournaments over there, was on the other 2 lakes, and I've seen some guys monster bags. Tim White, Justin Reynolds up there just fun fishing. And I might get this wrong. I know we've said it several times. Their best 5 that day was 36, 37 pounds. 36, 37. Just telling you, those other lakes got it. What's up, Far Dog? You give Trade a bob haircut and she could double as a full-blown Karen. And I like Zaldane and their podcast. Trey is a solid angler in her own right. And but yes, she is a smart lady. Listen, and everybody ain't for everybody. 100%. It's not for everybody. But I get it. Now that woman, now listen, that woman at the Philadelphia game, bless her heart, she's hating life right now, right? Guys, you can't do anything in this world anymore. You ain't going to get away with it. Luckily, I grew up in the 80s. The things that I did in the 80s, I would probably be in jail today. I'm so glad we didn't have cell phones and everybody watching and social media back in the 80s. Now, it took about a week after you got in trouble for everybody else to find out. But that woman in Philadelphia, granted, right or wrong, whatever side you're on, most people think she was in the wrong, and I kind of do that. I kind of disagree with the father a little bit, but that's just another take on it. Because I can tell you, this, whatever he was doing when she walked up, that, what was that, dude? Like, seriously, if that was a man and you were getting punched, he didn't have knocked you out before you even got into a position. That guy was scared to death right there for a second. But she's hating life. You can't do anything anymore without getting blowed up. I mean, blowed up. Now, I'm right, Tony, I'm with you. If you take a baseball from a kid, you get what you deserve. Hey, listen, yeah, the consequences be damned. I mean, it is what it is, right? You should know better. That's my point, is like, you should know better that you're going to get filmed. Not only was the national media following you, but like everybody who goes anywhere without a cell phone these days. And how quick, one of the fastest reflexes known to human beings is people hit and record on their cell phones. They are the new gunslingers. Okay? They will gunsling that phone out, hit record in like 2 nanoseconds if they think this is going to be social media worthy. And you guys know I'm right. Boom, they got it. Hell, some of them got 2. They got you one vertical and one horizontal, and they got you. And it's just crazy that people still do kind of dumb things out there. I see a lot of you guys out there talking about jigs. Far Dog says, I'll take and flip a wacky and buck brush with a VMC #1 hook with a 15-pound fluoro. Absolutely. You got to. Messick, usually an Archie head or a 3/8 half-ounce finesse jig like a little spotty. There's your Picasso reference for today. If you are a traditional worm fisherman, you will miss a lot of jig fish because you are a feel guy, not a sight guy. Now, Joey, that's very interesting. I'm going to read a few more and come back to that comment. Let's see. Yeah, that guy flinching on that lady was hard to watch. There's clips out there with Mark Daniels Jr. and how he handled a couple Karens up north. He was a class act. And let's see. Thank you, John. FNGO is the best. If it wasn't there live, I would be listening to Memorex. That's a name from the past right there. Danny, we do need to share late 90s, late 80s stories. I bet we got a ton in common. Dude, we would get in so much trouble, and we would probably creep out some of the people that watch us. I'm serious. Like, I got stories beyond stories. We might have to put that one behind a paywall. That might be a special one that you guys got to pay like a fee because you want to hear those stories, right? You want to get into the sick sadistic stuff we did back in the 80s when we could get away with it. I mean, remember, we were latchkey kids. Got off the school bus at 4. Mom and dad didn't get home till 6:30. During the summertime, you was by yourself, and you had to find things to entertain yourself with. And Lord knows I did. That's all I got to say. But back to the traditional worm-style fisherman, here's one thing I did learn with jigs. The statute of limitation is up on those days now. Listen, I don't know, man. There's some things that are going, only God and I know. Only God and I know, and only God and I are going to know. Let's just put it that way. I'm keeping those to myself. They staying in the closet, 100%. Unless the other people decide to tell. But anyway, so you're right. Back in the 80s, again, show my age, when we threw a Texas rig out, you raised your pole, rod, whatever you want to call it. You felt that brrr, and what did we do? We always kind of like reeled into it a little bit, and we watched the line to see if it would take off or, when I first started throwing a jig, you'd feel that brr, and I would be, okay, he's getting ready to run, and I hear brr again, and I'd set the hook. And there was never a bass on the end of it, because that first time you feel it with a jig, you better cross his eyes right there, because he's got it in his mouth. That second brr you feel, he doesn't spitting that thing out. It took a while to get that difference in feel for me anyway. Now, granted, is there a time when they get a jig and they just take off with it, and no matter what you do wrong, you're still going to catch them? Absolutely. Absolutely. Late on the Fat Albert, but a twin tail Fat Albert on an owner jig head, and then it's something about Russell. So I guess it's the money at Russell. Throw a rage across the trailer. I don't care what it did in the tank. I'm a believer knows. Hey, listen, I want to do the tank. I was talking with a farmer about it earlier today. Like, get a crankbait hung in there and then drop all these lure retrievers down through there and film it. But he mentioned something good. Like, if one kicks off wrong, we might bust the tank. We got to figure that out. Danny, those stories didn't make it on film. I ain't talking about none of it. Listen, there's a reason why I didn't let my kids ride the school bus. Now, one of it was for their safety, as far as bus drivers not being able to take up for them. I talked about that argument with my dad. But another thing is like, I rode a school bus. I know what goes on school buses. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. Roger, I am feeling better, and you're at the dentist. I hope you make it through it all right. Something that I didn't see a lot of on Heath was bait fish. No schools of shad, but East Antioch I seen a ton. Cody, East Antioch, West Antioch, and I'm sure Heath has a big gizzard shad. Think about that when you fish. Big gizzard shad. 100%. See you, DP. Let's see. I love the Fat Alberts, but the fish up here don't feel the same way. Yeah, I get it. I got my first cigarette from a guy on a school bus. I got first a lot of things on a school bus. Now, so we officially caught up on the comment section like that too. So you guys can continue on, and we will we'll keep reading those comments and talking about fishing. But I want to give a little love out, because I mentioned it too, for YouTube. To me, in my opinion, YouTube is the greatest thing, even greater than Google. I think Google owns it, but still, the things you can learn and pick up how to do on YouTube absolutely amazes me. All right. Got to go to work. Go Big Orange. Hope to see you tonight. Kent, I love you, but I hate that Big Orange comment. But yeah, I hope you see us tonight too. Make sure you're there, 8 o'clock. Let's see. Basically, my dad was not a mechanic, so I didn't get raised learning how to work on cars or anything. Now, when my father-in-law was alive, my wife back in the early 90s when we first got married, she ran a paper route. So I learned how to change brakes real quick, your basic stuff, your alternators and things. But I have no mechanical ability. But with the help of YouTube, there are things that you can do now. And this goes with fish or anything. There are things that you can do now that you would have never dreamed of doing. My daughter has a Jeep that's got a 5.7 Hemi, had a coolant leak. Well, thought it was a hose, wasn't a hose, changed out a water pump. Well, it ends up it is the timing cover gasket and the front seal on the Hemi that's leaking coolant. So with the help of YouTube, I now have a halfway pulled apart 5.7 Hemi in my driveway. And I'm telling you what, like, I found some videos, and I'm convinced that if I had the proper tools and time, I could rebuild a motor with no mechanical ability whatsoever by watching YouTube. And I know a lot of you guys, you learn how to fish, you learn how to hunt, you learn little tactics and everything on YouTube. What's up, Hogan? You learn all the things like that. And you can just go to YouTube. Imagine what it'd be like, the difference for kids now learning things, or people now learning things like we had to deal with back in the 80s and 90s. We didn't have this stuff. And I just thought, man, it is amazing what a man can do with YouTube. So we'll see if I get it all put back together correctly. If I follow the step-by-step videos that are out there, for sure. So with that being said, on YouTube, if YouTube can make me a mechanic, how has YouTube helped you guys fishing? Now, granted, we talk, the easy one is the videos and all that. The easy is the videos, the fishing videos. The content on YouTube, when you guys are looking to find information on, what are you looking for? YouTube University, LOL. Seriously, man, I'm telling you. I gotta read this. My grade school bus driver was an old woman who chewed Levi Garrett and would yell, "Y'all sit the F down," over and over. Man, I miss the 80s. My bus driver had false teeth, these first ones. And she was yelling at us one day. In mid scream, man, her dentures fell out. I said false teeth, her dentures, whatever, fell out. I mean, right down in her lap. She grabbed them jokers, she threw them right back in her mouth, and she went back to yelling, and they fell down again. Now, you have a school bus full of kids that are impressionable, and the bus driver's trying to yell at you, and her teeth are falling off. I feel bad for her now, but oh, my Lord, it was just chaos that day. It was chaos. And I know she was embarrassed, but again, when you're that age, you don't think about that. You don't have any learnings. Now I feel awful. It makes me feel bad that I laughed, but I do remember that back in the day. Back in the day, my pop fished a Mitchell 300. When he got a bite, he would open the bell and let them run across the lake. Yeah. Didn't we all do that? My dad said, now, when we were fishing with minnows, okay, when we were fishing with minnows, my dad would say, and the float would go under, bass fish and all that. He said, count to 5. And I remember this. He's count to 5. I'm like, why? Because they got them in their teeth and they're scaling them. My dad would say that. They were scaling the minnow so it'd be easier to swallow for some reason. But that was his way of thinking back then. But I mean, you don't know how many times on that little pond in my backyard that big red bobber would go under, and I'd go 1, 2, 3, and every once in a while that thing would pop back up and be gone, and I'd be like, it stinks, But I would do that just because that's what my dad said. Ever used a weed book to reach down and cut a fish out of lily pads? A weed book? Did you mistype that, or am I just saying that wrong? Considering carrying one on my kayak when I go to Gunnersville in November. Let's see if did I read that right, Stephen? A weed book, because I have no idea what that is. Definitely going to be fun. I've been wanting to go out to Monticello again. You guys over there are still talking about a separate lake. That's why I love the comment section. Sometimes you guys are having conversations with yourself, and I don't know, if you're doing it or not, but then I can figure it out. Brian Farrell, listen to this. I love this comment. I built a 500 horsepower turbo Civic just off YouTube knowledge. That's badass, dude. Like, I'm just hoping that I get the harmonic balancer out there. I get it off right, and I get the thing, and I put everything back in, and it just doesn't leak, much less a 500 horsepower turbo Civic. But you know what? I'm not a mechanic. Like I said, I can do brakes, but I'm not a mechanic. So as I was pulling, I pulled the power steering off, set it to the side, pulled the radiator out, took the front nose piece off of the Jeep, got it set down. And I'm like, weed hook. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, man, yeah. Like, when my wife comes home, she's going to see this and she's going to think, look at what my husband's doing, and you know what? The Iron Dome fell last night, boys. It works. So not only am I working on a car while not feeling well and everything, but the Iron Dome fell. It's all about that honeydew list, right? All about that honeydew list. YouTube is the library of the masses, for sure. My information for fishing on YouTube is only for forward-facing sonar settings and learning what the different fish looks like. That's interesting. Hogan, I don't think I'm going to make it down to hard labor, buddy. I don't think I'm going to. But back to the weed hook. I don't know. We have never talked about a weed hook, so maybe sometime some of the guys in there have heard about it, but I have not. Hey, kid, don't set the hook till he licks it 3 times. Pretty much, Joey, that's what it was. Honestly, pretty much. It was wait 5 seconds, count 5 seconds, and I don't know why. That was just a thinking, right? That was the thinking. 90% of the weight for setting hooks from us older guys was the hooks stunk back in the day and were not sharp. Possibility. It could be a possibility. My Iron Dome is still up after the dove field incident. You got your wife out there in a thunderstorm in the middle of a dove field dove hunting. Yeah, you probably deserve it. Captain J. Morgan, he's echoing kind of what I'm talking about here. You literally can learn almost anything. I use it nonstop. Just replaced a fuel filter and oil filter on the John Deere today using it. Play, pause, work, repeat. 100%. Stephen Joe on TikTok. Double fluke rig, a.k.a. the donkey rig. Yay or nay this time of year down south. Your thoughts? A lot of guys will throw it. I see it thrown more post-spawn around the herring, around the shad spawn around here. That's when it seems like we talk about the donkey rig a lot more. I don't throw it. I've tried it a few times. I'm not saying it's bad at all. You definitely catch fish on it, but I'm like, if they're going to hit 2 flukes, they'll hit 1 fluke. It's just less for me to get tangled up. But I do hear people throw it. Absolutely, they throw it down south. But again, you got to realize that our lakes down here, clear highland reservoirs, spotted bass, really aggressive. I don't know about South Georgia. Basically, Atlanta North, we all kind of have the same kind of lakes and everything. But it seems to me that guys talk about it far more post spawn, around the herring spawn, around the shad spawn. And you're in Arkansas, or are you talking about Arkansas? Like I said, I don't know. I mean, throw it, it can't hurt. I just don't. It's just like if there's a way to screw it up, I'll screw it up. Let's see. YouTube hasn't stopped me from over tightening, stripping, or breaking bolts so far, unfortunately. 100%. But yeah, that throw it. I just don't have a real strong opinion on it. But I do know a lot of guys pull it out here early summer, late spring. YouTube and Reddit are a gold mine for information. I got to get on the Reddit. I don't use Reddit near enough. Does Lanier ever get stained or muddy during the winter? It does when it turns over. I graduated high school in 83, 2 years of college and a year of trade school, all in the 80s. Best years of my life. Oh, dude, listen. If I knew, you know what? Here's the thing. We all say we would go back and change something, but if you go back and change one single decision you make, I might not be sitting here in front of you guys. So I'd like to say I'd love to go back. If I could go back and experience it again, there would be a few things I would do different. I'd have a little bit more fun knowing now what I knew then. But, yeah, I mean, the 80s were different. The music was by far better. Very few baits flew over me Saturday. Shot twice, hit 1 bird. Father-in-law shot all day on another part of the field and hit 1 bird. So what you're saying is, Joey, you were more efficient. Is that what you're saying? You were by far more efficient. Now, Fred Ashcraft, now Steven on TikTok, Fred Ashcraft says they throw the donkey rig in South Georgia. So, yeah, and he's down towards Savannah ways, I think. I think I got that right. Easy on the Reddit. Things get wild real fast. Well, so it does on X, but I've never even messed with Reddit. No doubt on Reddit, when I Google something, I usually just throw Reddit at the end and go from there. I'll have to check that out. I know that you guys know what Rumble is? Any of you guys ever heard of Rumble? It is the conservative YouTube. And we have an account, and I started posting on there some of these. Like after I show it on YouTube, we could take it over to Rumble. And I haven't done it in a while. It's actually on my list to start doing it again. But Reddit and LinkedIn, I haven't messed with too much. Now, I do have a LinkedIn profile now because of the TV show. What's up, Ditch Pickle Daddy? I do have that, but Reddit, I will say this, though. Lots of times when you Google something, you get the Reddit answer a lot. So you're absolutely right. The north end of Lanier can get yoo-hoo in the winter when a big storm comes through. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Don't fish the north end there as much, but you're absolutely right. I do know that up around Toto Creek can get absolutely, you can walk across it. It gets so muddy sometimes. Just curious, our lakes get chocolate milk here in South Carolina around December, March. Yeah, I mean, that can happen here too, for sure. Thoughts on the Karachi? I've had my best year throwing that and a little underspin, a lot more than I ever had. I would not be the one to give you the best comments on that. It'd probably have to go because I haven't thrown it near as much. Probably somebody in the comment section would do a lot better than I would be able to do that. I've got a BFL Super next week on Hamilton, and I was just curious. I know they are keyed on bait fish. What kind of bait fish is on Hamilton, Stephen, if you don't mind me asking? And what's up, Jandon Smith, 859? Danny, I don't know if I can like y'all on LinkedIn. I might get fired. Listen, I don't know about a lot of that stuff. Now, Mike Geiger also says he throws a donkey rig on Clark's Hill. It works. Yeah, I definitely ain't saying it don't work. A lot of guys throw it, but it seems to me like they throw it more in the post spawn. That's when we hear guys on the show talk about it a lot more. But I'm sure there's guys that throw it year round. But any of you guys familiar with Hamilton? And I guess Steven's got a BFL Super there next week. You know, how about this? Oh, they got threadfin and gizzards on Hamilton. So, yeah, it should work. So they definitely got the herring. And that kind of helps out here. thread, gizzard, bluegill, the basics. A lot of guys here are downsizing right now. And then, of course, I say that, and there's some guys that are going bigger, like your typical fish, your typical bait fish presentations. A lot of guys around here are either downsizing or they're going a lot bigger. So, like your typical standard, not as many guys right now are talking about throwing that. And a lot of people here in the fall downsize. I know that we talk about that a lot. Has anybody found out the new rule changes for the BFLs? I want to fish, but I want to know the rules. Messick, I do not off the top of my head. Jonah Fordesha on tuna. He throws, I guess you're throwing the donkey rig on tuna. Again, that's a herring lake. Tom is lying right now. He's lying at his wazoo because he says the wife loves when I throw the donkey rig. I don't believe that at all, Tom. I don't believe that at all. But maybe you are. Maybe you're one of those that can. I don't definitely throw the donkey rig at all. Let me hit my TikTok guys back up real quick. Get them back squared away so I don't lose them. I'm getting better at this when it works. Resume. There we go. All right, so they're on. Let's see. The Mega Bass Carrot. Okay, so Atlanta Outdoors says it's good on the BFS when the bait is small. For sure. Captain Morgan says, speaking of learning, Apple is live on their new releases. Going to go nerd out. Y'all have a great day. You have a great day, buddy. Is anyone throwing the rock crawler yet? Not yet, but it's getting there. It's getting there. At least not a lot of people are talking about it yet. How about that? And Steven says on the BFL message over on TikTok, he said, I've heard nothing on any rule changes on the BFLs yet. Now, we heard something that there was a few. We actually heard some rumors. It actually was on a TikTok when I forget her name. She shows up at night. She was talking about, there was something about the co-anglers combining their weights with the boater for the co-angler side. And then the boaters, their weight stays the same against the boaters. It was stuff like that. And again, that's just what we've heard. Definitely don't know anything for sure. 3-hour forward facing sonar for one of the lower end circuits. I think the co-angler is given the transducer lock. So Stephen, that's what Joey Metcalf said. 3-hour forward facing for one of the lower end circuits. You don't use it, I assume. I think the co-angler is given the transducer lock. He has to lock it up. So that's right, something like that. The co-angler was responsible for locking it up. Bar Dog says, now this is some Hamilton juice for you, from our buddy in Oklahoma. A yellow magic in bone color is a bad boy on Hamilton this time of year, especially popped slow around the docks. Okay, that's from Bar Dog. He lives out that way. He would know. So again, that's a yellow magic in bone color is a bad boy on Hamilton this time of year, especially popped slow around the docks. Joey said, I caught one on a shad color rock crawler last week. They're starting to fire up on it. Look for the annual fall wind. Yeah, I mean, so for sure. Now, again, too, a lot of people think around here, rock crawler, they think the crawfish colors, right? The green pumpkin oranges, the red ones and all that as your typical wintertime thing. But you can throw a rock crawler year-round with that shad color for sure. To me, the rock crawler is the only crankbait out there that I have any confidence in whatsoever. I throw others, but like honestly, when I put a rock crawler on, I expect to catch fish. I'm not saying it happens every time, but I at least have that confidence in that bait. So Far Dog Steven says, yeah, I tore him up on Greer's on the Yellow Magic. So there you go. Let's see. Heard it was supposed to be a combined weight with the boaters. I don't care either way. I just want to know what I'm getting into. Might as well make it a team series tournament at that point. Quite possibly Messick for sure. And Coleman says, green gizzard shad DT6 is money. And yeah, now listen. So your rock crawler is my favorite. The DT series, they're kind of like, you know what I'm saying? They're interchangeable. You can use one. A lot of guys will throw the DT stuff in the wintertime, and a lot of guys will throw the rock crawler. Now, Tony says, hush, Coleman. He don't want anybody. He's gatekeeping right now. He don't want anybody to know about the green gizzard shad DT6. Is that the right one, Tony? The green gizzard shad DT6. And Tony's he's gonna pop me in the mouth when he comes up here later on today. Like that. He goes, dadgummit, Danny. For sure. See, like I'm laughing. You know. But yeah, tonight I really want it to be a good show where everybody helps each other out. Because I will tell you this, like I feel confident. I feel confident going shallow, slow. But when guys are burning the trolling motor, I don't feel near as confident with that. That's a change just like that I got to get used to be more versatile. I mean, I've learned how to do some of the things with Ryan and being on the back of Farmer's boat. I've had to make some adjustments, but I always like to slow down. So when it gets going fast, I don't feel near as confident. Still can catch some fish, but don't feel near as confident because of the way I like to fish. Going out deep, even though I don't do it near as often, being with Kevin Underwood and others like that, I feel like I at least know what the fish are doing. I know what they're supposed to be doing, and I know how he works the bait. So I feel like I could go replicate that. But that's over timber. I don't have near the confidence when we're like out deep over a hump or something. I feel kind of lost. I agree with it. Messick Steven says I agree with that team event, and it's a great starting point for anyone trying to progress in fishing for sure. Absolutely. Coleman says, I mean, it costs money to throw them, and they don't work. They don't win money or anything, the DT6s. So don't waste your time throwing a DT6, according to Coleman Jones. No, I just had a glide bait painted basically like the DT6 green gizzard. Makes sense. Good color for sure, I bet. Atlanta Outdoors, I probably caught 3 bass on Lanier on a crankbait. Shimmer shad rock crawler, the one with all the sparkle glitter on it. Lost it when I flipped my kayak last winter. I've caught more on a lipless. Now, I will say this. I know exactly the color you're talking about. I've probably caught more in the dead of winter and then, red bug, I believe it's the color. I believe it's the red bug, but it's the one with the green pumpkin back and more of the reddish sides. I believe it's red bug, but I like those colors. And I put a feathered treble on that DT6. Tony, do you really? What's up, traveling fisherman? Be careful which videos you get your information from. Now listen, that's true. Now I watched the whole video all the way out. Make sure, I don't know about fishing, but like even this one about trying to change this timing cover gasket and all that, I did watch the video from start to finish to make sure he went back, putting it back together the same way so that I could follow it step by step. And you do have to do that with the fishing videos. Just because the guy's out there and he's got it in the thumbnail, busted 30 pounds of bass in a canal with a Snoopy rod, doesn't mean that's exactly what he did. So sometimes they trick you. Any more information will cost you money. Far Dog said he's going to start charging for that info out there. Interesting question. Wonder how the blood moon affected the fish. Well, I do not know personally. I will say this though. A lot of guys struggled Saturday. Could it be related to the moon? I don't know, but it's just as good of a guess that it did affect it as anything. So I don't really know. And maybe some of the guys tonight will know. Let's see. Far Dog, out little red beads in that clear spook, and you'll thank me later. Put little red beads in that clear spook. Okay. All right. Messick's throwing a little juice. He's throwing a little juice. Put some red beads in your clear spook. I found one snag that had bad paint, airbrushed a crawl pattern, seems to swim the depth correctly. Seen it on my 2D. Looking forward to fishing it this fall. Yeah. Far Dog out here, so-and-so pays for info. See, Tyler, I have to be careful again with who I say something. I have to think about my words correctly and who I call out these days. I was informed of that, so I have to be on my best behavior for sure. I think it's more about the barometric pressure. Okay, so there you go. Patricia, traveling fisherman, says he thinks it's more about the barometric pressure than the blood moon itself. So anyway, all right, with that, we've gone about an hour and 15. So listen, tonight, I want you guys to come back. Again, tonight's episode on the live well at 8 is about how do we become a more versatile angler, especially when we don't, we're out of our comfort zone. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to let the show start off. I can tell you how the show's going to start off. I'm going to let John talk about his experience from the kayak world being in a bass boat Saturday with Farmer. And so, from there, then we're all going to kind of work together. And if you guys have tips or techniques that help you become more versatile at something that you weren't very good at, I want you to bring them in the comment section tonight. I'll back you for defending poor folk any day of the week. No, it wasn't that one, Atlanta Outdoors. No, it was not that one. It was another situation. And one day we might talk about, but no, that one, no. I'm still right on with that one. What weight won the benefit tournament? 21 plus, I think, just a little over 21. Right there, right at 21, give or take an ounce or two. So, but I want you guys to come back tonight, because if there's something that you know that can help everybody else that's watching, I want you to do that. Traveling says, sounds like a great episode. Definitely something I've learned the past 10 years traveling. Yeah, it's like figuring out how we can help somebody go out and be successful doing something that they know they're not good at, and help them get more confidence. Appreciate that, Robert. Yeah, I hope everything goes good at the dentist with you, dog. Like that. So, guys, if you are in the Marble Hill area tonight, you're more than welcome to come sit in on the show. Absolutely. And we will talk. We'll talk about that. Let me get this very last one. What I'm doing wrong. What am I doing wrong? I've never caught a wacky rig fish. Tried a dozen times. Do I just need to bring that and nothing else one day? Brian, it depends on what kind of lake you're on, for sure. And really, the wacky rig, like when it's on, it's on. But there are times when it is not the best thing to be thrown, even though it's my favorite thing to throw. But I would say just where you're throwing it. April will definitely build your confidence in it. Springtime on a wacky will build your confidence in it. And then a lot of guys will throw it in the spring and they won't throw it the rest of the year. I throw it year round. So, it's just one of those things. Real Adventure says a Berkeley Fritz side 9's been killing them on Chickamauga. So they're busting that up there. Oh, you're on little ponds mainly? If you're on little ponds, I would say instead of throwing it around the bank, throw it out deep. Throw it weightless, throw it out deep, and let it just sink all the way to the bottom. Eat your sandwich, whatever. Let it get out to the bottom and work it a little more slow than what you normally would. Don't sleep on the tidal fisheries either. J.L. Scott Fishing said, man, I really got to learn more about those. Definitely don't get a lot of tidal fishing up here in North Georgia, but I would love to learn more about that for sure. Maybe you can come back tonight and help us with that too. Do I usually just throw weightless wackies? Yes. 99% of the time I'm weightless. The only time I will not throw a weighted one is if it's really like buck-ass crazy windy. I found a natural spring and boy, they were there, caught 4 3-pounders within 10 minutes. That's awesome. Yeah, it just depends too. Like Messick says something about the, corners of the ponds and all that. It just depends on a lot of that stuff. Do I throw the wacky in cold months? Yes. And Fred Ashcraft says, keep those tidal secrets, that tidal stuff secret. Doug, I will go out, and I've done it with Underwood and all that. He's throwing an underspin, dragging, slow ditching it and stuff, or we'll get to a brush pile, and I will chunk that thing out over a brush pile and just let it sink. Because I know he's doing stuff. He's going to be busy and not moving for a while. And I'm telling you, Yamamoto in that monster bass colors, it works its way down, will get popped. Now, you got to be really patient with it, but it will get popped. Or skip it under docks with black floats. If it's got those black floats in there and you've had a sunny day, a warmer than, a day that's been warmer than what you've been experiencing for, a few weeks, and I will skip that thing weightless right under that dock, right on that black float, and let it just sink right there beside it. You'd be surprised. Traveling Fisherman said, I'll definitely be watching tonight and try to offer as much advice and knowledge as I can. We will appreciate you. You need to do that. Weightless Fluke has been killing it too. They're definitely on a shad and bait fish pattern going into the fall. And that is my Thursday night show this week is going to be where are the bass in the fall. I already set it out. That's what we're going to be talking about. So tonight it's being versatile, trying to fish outside of your comfort zone. Thursday night, just where the hell the bass are at and how we can go catch them in the fall. So that's tonight. Put a small nail weight under the hook, 1/16, skip it under docks and slowly yo-yo it until you feel the bust drive off. Kind of, for sure. That's what I'm saying, Joey. From saltwater, freshwater, brackish, and multi-species and techniques I've learned over the years. Absolutely, dude. And you guys need to go follow the Traveling Fisherman. He's got some cool stuff. All right, so I got jigs to tie. I got jigs to tie. I've got ditch diggers to paint. I got a lot of stuff. If you guys are in the Marble Hill, Georgia area, Come by and hang out during the show. If not, come back tonight at 8. I'm glad you guys listen. I appreciate all the texts and calls yesterday, wanting to make sure that I was okay because we didn't do a lunch break yesterday. So makes me feel really good. You guys think that much of me. But I appreciate y'all spending your middays with me, especially today. Come back tonight. We'll have a little bit of fun. Don't work too hard, but get your work done, right? Don't work too hard, but get it done. So we will see you guys on YouTube tonight. Y'all have a great rest of your day. End it right there. And you guys over here on TikTok,